And welcome back to the box office report today on the 20th of October 2024, about 2 months ahead. Did I get the box office right this week? No, I didn't, because the We Live in Time movie is number 5, and I did not see that one coming. But Smile 2 debuts with about $23 million. Good start. The Wall Robot, still number 2. I saw that coming. $10.1 million. Terrifier 3, $9.3 million for number 3 spot. Beetlejuice, still in the top 5 with just $5 million. It's going to not be exactly 5 after the actuals. And then We Live in Time pretty much gets some wide release debuts with $4.1 million. Obviously, Smile 2, your number 1, big one to talk about. The original one's made on $17 million, made almost, actually, I literally just had it over here, I was looking up, made $217 million against a $17 million budget. That's impressive. Is a good, do you know that apparently there's another horror movie called Smile? How about that? I actually know nothing about this. 2009, a group of college students go on holiday. The aspiring photographer in the group buys a camera that was used by a crime photographer for years. It captured violence and death. Now it's new purpose and new owner. Now it has a new purpose and a new owner to work with. Smile as in smile for the camera. I get it now. Okay. Anyway, excuse me. It's a new one debuts with $23 million and it has $23 million, roughly speaking, internationally. Symmetrical. $46 million total. Now, it is made on a bit more of a budget, a whole $11 million more, $28 million, which, to be fair, you did get, I think, some more high-profile actors in this one. Naomi Scott, I think that is. I think that's the actress's name. Is it Scott or Hare? I want to say it's Naomi Scott. Title summary. Hold on. Cast and crew. Naomi Scott. I did get it right. All right. So you were able to get like a slightly more bigger name than you did in the original. Not that it really matters. It just usually will help lend a little bit of credence to your project if you get maybe someone people recognize a bit more. Let's see. What did Smile 2 do for the critics? As far as I know, it does have a positive rating. And how did the audience respond to it as well? I guess that's a big question. Because that's where your money comes from, obviously. Now then, come on, Rotten Tomatoes. Stop being the slow tomato. There we go. And where are we now, folks? Don't you hate it when they're loading and it's like kind of just stuck, like it's not quite there? There we go. Here we go now. All right, so Smile. Okay, 8. Wow, symmetrical. I almost feel like it's like there's some sort of shenanigans going on because symmetrical on this, symmetrical on that. 83 and 83. So the critics and the audiences are pretty much dead even in how they're interpreting this movie. It's a good movie. I did not see the first movie, therefore I did not go out to see the second movie. I'm going to be honest. I saw the movie Goodrich, which I enjoyed. Even though I was suffering through a migraine through it, I enjoyed it. And then, you know what? I don't regret seeing it over this. It's just hard for me as a person. I've done it before where I've seen a sequel to a movie that I didn't see the original for. Just because I was reviewing movies. Now it's like, all right, now I feel like I've been doing this long enough. I can be a bit choosier. Like if I haven't seen the sequel to a movie, and if I'm not, let me rephrase that sentence. If I haven't seen the previous installment, or any of the previous installments, and a sequel's coming out, and I am not really all that engaged in watching the new movie coming out, I'm going to just skip it, unless, of course, I'm asked. But, look, the question that's always raised is, how good is this for the film? Well, on a $28 million budget, making 23 is still a fantastic number to do. The cardinal rule is you got to try to make about half your budget back to have a good shot at making your full budget back and making a profit. And Smile 2 certainly did that. On a $28 million budget, it had to do 14. It's made 23. So it's already in a really good spot. However, it's going to get compared to the second one. The second one had an opening of, if we look at it real quick here, it had an opening of 22.6. That's actually very telling because we can compare it to something like, say, Terrifier 3, which had a record-shattering opening weekend for its franchise at 18 some odd million last week. Whereas here, you get the sequel to a widely loved film, and you didn't you would assume it would have made more like, say, 30 million or maybe even 40 million. It barely made the same amount. It still made the same amount, which, if the numbers track the same way, means that this film would still go on to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $200+ million, which for a $28 million film is something studios bow down and pray to the studio gods for. Like, they would be ecstatic if this made anywhere near close to the original. Honestly, all this film has to do is make probably $100 million, which right now it's almost halfway to doing that. So it sounds like it's on a good trajectory for that. All it's gotta do is make $100 million and it's successful. My guess is you're looking at, though, because this did have probably more marketing than the last one did. On a $28 million budget, you are probably looking at anywhere between 30 and 40 million in marketing would be my guess. Again, I'd have to look it up. I'd have to try to find it. Fun note, I'll talk about more Terrifier 3. I was completely off of the Terrifier number in a good way. It had like 500 grand in marketing. I heavily doubt this is the case. I was seeing this trailer quite a bit. I'm going to conservatively say 30 million for right now, which means this film would be made on 58 million, which means this film has to hit about 90 million just to break even. Now, I do think it's going to do that. I think it's going to do that no problem. But I think this is the problem we run into with sequels and all that. I mean, we look at Joker 2 as an example of what happens when you try to do sequels, try to force sequels, and it doesn't work out. But Joker 2 was one of those things where there's no need to be milking it. The only reason you milked it is because it made $1 billion. Whereas with Smile 2, it's clear you can extend the story of this entity, that, suicidal smile creature. And from what I understand, the way it ends, I did get spoiled on the ending because I didn't care that much. It ends in a way where it's like, okay, I see you. I see what you might be able to go down the road here with. That's interesting. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Luckily, we're still mid-October. We're a little mid to late October now, but we're still 2 weeks away from Halloween. We're in the prime for Smile to do excellent. So we definitely have to wait and see on that. The Wild Robot made it at $10.1 million. Again, it's got legs, baby, and it knows how to use them. Cracked now the 196. It's going to crack 200, which means this film is in the profit range now. With a budget of 78 million, I'm gonna guess 50 million in marketing budget. That means the film was made on 128. Round that up to 130 for easy numbers. That means the film had to basically hit 195-ish to break even, roughly speaking. But that means this film did it. And now whatever it's making is now straight on profit, which is great. Because this film is delightful. I loved this film. Me and my girlfriend both got teary-eyed. We got choked up at points. It was just beautiful to look at. It was so heartfelt. It was one of those films that felt like a warm hug of a movie. It felt like just a hold me and make me feel happy movie. And I'm so glad that this film it got to the point where it broke even and is now basically just going to be making money now, which is fantastic. Oddly enough, it's the same thing that happened with Migration. That film that came out last year about the ducks that went on the migration journey, that, the dad was, agoraphobic and it's like, oh no, the world's dangerous. Nowhere near as good a movie as this, but a surprisingly decent little film that just kept trudging along and eventually actually made a decent amount of money. Like, it made like $240 some odd million. And so it made its money back quite effectively. I feel like this is kind of the new Migration for this year, except it's a much better film that could even get like Best Picture accolades. Granted, I think the winner for Best Picture, animated picture anyway, I meant animated for Wild Robot, is still going to be Inside Out 2. It's going to be it's going to be hard to be Inside Out 2. Highest grossing movie of the year, probably going to remain that. One of the best reviewed films. It was a beautiful film. I loved Inside Out 2. Absolutely. I can't wait to show my girlfriend Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2. I can't wait to show her some of the Pixar she's been missing. We're definitely going to be watching Moana before we see Moana 2, definitely. And Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, because all I did, side note real quick, because there was something, we were having a conversation. I was playing like a Magic Arena, and she comes in to just says, we're talking, and she says something about music, and I just think, it's like, all I can think of when I think of that song is a scene from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 where Jim Carrey plays Pantera. Walk. Well, I believe it's Walk. While, strumming, like, attacking. She's like, what? Hold on. And I show her the scene of Jim Carrey's robot, and she's like, what are you saying? It's like, okay, I need to see these movies now. I didn't know this was here. I'm like, damn it. Okay, honey, we're going to go see it. So, yeah, I got to show her those at some point. So anyway, again, going to movies that are doing exceptionally well. Terrifier 3 dropped about 50%, which, you know what? Even for the Halloween season, I get it. It's a niche. While it is a very beloved franchise by its fan base, it is also a little niche. I'm not expecting every horror fan or lover to go to this movie, but it certainly is making its money on a $2 million budget with a $500,000 marketing budget. If you do the math, that means this film had to only hit $4 million to break even. The film currently is standing at $41.5 million. I'm trying to remember what the math on that would be. Basically, that means this film has currently made, about roughly speaking, 28-ish million, if I were to just round it up to say 42. 28 after the studio gets their cut, and then you minus the 2.5. This film has currently just made 26.5, roughly speaking, $25.5 million profit, which, look, at this point, the people who just put this out our Cineverse are going, yeah, I'm drinking my fine chateau. But this is a good, not wake-up call, because I'm sure the studios have been trying to figure things out and kind of are aware of some of their overspending sometimes. But this is a good little case study of how you can do a movie on a minimal budget with minimal marketing, effective minimal marketing, with a built-in fan base. I think that was the other big thing here, too. It's got a built-in fan base. And really reap profit. Now, I'm not saying the next Avengers film should only have a $500,000 marketing budget. No. But, and that film's going to be expensive. But I'm going to use a different film example. Let's say Superman comes out next year. Or Fantastic Four is another good one. These two movies. Which I know James Gunn is, I think, keeping Superman relatively low budget. Relatively, like maybe $100 million. But let's actually that's probably a better one to go with. $100 million for Superman. I'm just spitballing. I don't know the exact budget. $100 million for Superman. Now, on a $100 million budget, but the general idea is you do about the same for your marketing that you have for your production budget. But we've been seeing a lot of films do less with that. If you could do $50 million, or hell, even less, maybe $40 million in marketing, figure out a way to do that, but do it effectively creative, that means you got a Superman film on $100 million that would only have to hit $210 million to break even. For a comic book movie to do that would be really good for a comic book movie to do that. Especially because, I see people commenting all the time about how Marvel's dead, comic books are over. It's all bullshit. That's your personal opinion. You're welcome to it, but it's all bullshit. They're not over. They're not done. Deadpool and Wolverine proved that. Now, is Marvel, let's just say the MCU, in a healthy spot right now? They are in a healthier spot. Agatha is doing well. It's also made on a very minimal budget from what I understand too, so that's a good thing. Agatha's doing well. I had someone say that Agatha is blatantly bad, just their opinion. It's your opinion if you don't like it, but it's not blatantly bad because that's not what blatantly means. Blatantly means if someone is, say, blatantly disregarding rules, that means they are doing it on purpose and with the knowledge that they're doing. They're doing it with the knowledge they're doing it. Agatha's not blatantly bad. Agatha is just bad. If you don't like it, it's not blatantly bad. It's bad. So I would just proper word choice is important because it changes the meaning of what you're saying if you're saying something else, if you're using a different word. But look, the majority of people are liking Agatha. If you're someone who doesn't, that's fine. Not everyone's going to like everything, but the majority of people are liking Agatha. Agatha. Deadpool Wolverine was a smash hit. We're gonna have Daredevil apparently released in March next year. Didn't know about that, so I knew it was next year. I didn't know it was gonna be March. Awesome for that. Right now, we need a new trailer for Brave New World. I'm guessing we might get it this week, and it's going to be attached to the new to Venom. But as it stands, I like what I'm seeing from Brave New World, and I like the Thunderbolts trailer. So we are in a healthier place now than we were before Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine didn't save Marvel; it just I think reignited Marvel a little bit. Plus, we got everyone like Feige's truly back in control, so there's that as well. So ultimately, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Marvel can really get back and maybe have a second golden era. Who knows? But point being, to the Superman thing, I think Superman would be a great canary in the coal mine for really looking at a lower budget for a superhero film on both the production and the marketing side. Because again, we don't know what that's made on either right now. We do not have that information. We don't even have a trailer right now. We have images, but we don't have a trailer. Anyway, Terrifier 3 is doing good. That was the whole gist. Speaking of which, Beetlejuice still doing great. 434. I mean, we set our piece on this. It made its money back long ago. It's now just reaping profit at this point. I do not see it, like I said, it's not hitting 500. 16-ish, 15.5 million away from 450? Ew. I don't think it's going to hit 450, but I won't fall over in shock if it does. Yeah, that's the best way I can put it. I won't fall over in shock if it does. It doesn't need to. It's long since, hit the profit range, and it made its money back in spades, baby. And like I said, it dropped again, only like 30 some odd %, which I think is roughly where I thought it would. And that's because we're in the Halloween season. Honestly, I would not be shocked to see it still above, like, say, 4 million then next weekend. I really wouldn't. If it wasn't for Venom Last Dance coming out, because that's a big tentpole film. And now right now I heard it's tracking for like at least 70 plus million. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Hell, even if it's like only at 60 million, comes in a little lower. That's still a good opening. Let's see now. We live in time. See, this one, an up-and-coming chef and a recent divorcee find their lives forever changed when a chance encounter brings them together in a decade-spanning, deeply moving romance. That's nice and sweet. A24, great for you. I don't really have any interest in seeing it, but good for, look, no, I'm being legit. Even though I did like the precious little, oh, how precious voice. It's still good for any studio to be, getting a lot of, because apparently it was only in 5 theaters. Hey, look, that actually tells you just the quality of the film you have here. When you go from 5 to and 985, and you go up 1.69%, a 1,699%, almost 1,700. Now you might be saying, well, it's because there was 980 more screens. Yeah, but people didn't have to go see it. Like, with only 5 screens, the regular viewing public probably didn't know a huge amount about it, or even know it existed. So you got to factor those X factors in with not just the numbers, but people's awareness of the product coming out. In one of the most historic fumbling attempts at a movie ever, because this really is historic how badly this film's doing. Joker Filet do dropped another 60 some odd %. Hey, it's almost made 200 million. It's almost made its production budget back. Oh wait, no, because the studio takes their cut. To make its production budget back, it would have to make 300 million just to make its production budget back. That is bad. Oh man, that is like legendarily bad. Like, this is gonna go down as probably the biggest flop of the year. No, I'm not. This is bomb territory. This isn't a flop. This is a bomb. Now, people sometimes ask, this conversation comes up once in a while. Not in here, but I hear it sometimes. What's the difference between a flop and the bomb? And I've heard a lot of people say the word is interchangeable. No. It's because it's what the word's implying that I think really makes it different. See, bomb is, let me rephrase this. A flop is something that just kind of fails a little bit, or it fails, it doesn't do well. let's look at, is there anything on here I can, okay, Transformers 1 is actually a perfect example. And okay, real quick, piece by piece, 2.1 million. It's really not going to be making much money. And then Transformers 1 made 1.9 million at $119 million right now. Now it's made on a $75 million budget and probably only had about $50 million in marketing. So it did lose, unfortunately, a decent chunk of money, but it lost overall like about 40 some odd $40 million. It was still well received by both the critics and the audiences. So that is a flop. Did not financially do well, but if they wanted to continue the series, there could be an argument for them to do that. Joker Folie à Deux did not get critically well received, did not get audience well received, and is losing, let's see, $200 million is the budget. Marketing, I'm going to guess at least $100 million. I'm going to guess. That's my guess right now. So you're looking at a film, and I don't have the marketing budget up right now. If anyone knows what the marketing budget was, let me know. I remember there were 2 different trailers. Honestly, maybe it wasn't 100 million. Maybe it was more like 75 to 50 to 75. Still, you're looking at a film. If let's say 250 total for marketing and production. Total, great, fine. The film still then had to hit 375 to break even. As it stands, with the rough third the studios get, this film is, let's see here, 60, carry the 1, that's about almost 4, so 64 million taken off of the current amount. It made about 120. This film has lost at minimum about $125 million and was not well liked by either the audience or the critics. That is a bomb. But something like Transformers is a flop. Didn't do the greatest, but it was still actually well received. So that, I think, is the clear-cut difference. I've oftentimes said too, if you fail at all of them, you're a bomb. If you fail at 2 of them, you might be a bomb. But if you only fail at, say, 1 of them, you're more of a flop. And really, I think the thing you got to fail at with a flop is the box office. Because flop implies you just didn't do well overall out in the world. So that's I think the big difference here. Something, for example, like the Transformers movies, which generally didn't have the best critical scores a lot of time and didn't always have the best audience scores, still ultimately did, like, a lot of them made hundreds of millions, if not a couple $billion. Well, not a couple billion, you know what I mean, over $1 billion. So those weren't bombs. They weren't even flops. They just, at least not financially. I guess that's the best way, because there's critical, there's fan, and then there's financial, and then there's the entirety. I am over-explaining this at this point. You guys get it. Then Saturday Night Manor, $1.8 million, 7.6. A film I think might be considered one of the best films of the year. I loved this film. I adored this film, actually. The Nightmare Before Christmas, near 1.1 million. It's amazing how quickly this film kind of disappears. These films disappear. Hey, Deadpool and Wolverine is still able to make a little over $500,000. Good for it. Hey, they actually gave it more screens. But it's pretty done. Now, it did finally cross that one last record it had to cross. It did finally do it. It is the official 20th highest grossing film of all time. So one last plot for Deadpool and Wolverine. It's it ran, it had its run. Its run was, quite frankly, kind of legendary. It's a record holder, record breaker. It'll hold, and it's going to probably hold a lot of these records for a long ass time. I really don't know if another R-rated film is going to come along to do $212+ million to be able to break the 211 that Deadpool and Wolverine holds for opening weekend. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. 20th highest grossing films are going to come along that beat it out of that. Absolutely. No worries about that. But highest grossing R-rated film, that's a record that could be held for a very, very, very long time. Reagan, let's look at Reagan for a second here, because Reagan did something interesting. Even though it didn't lose any theaters, it actually went up. Interesting. Maybe word of mouth has kind of helped it out a little bit. Still didn't do very well at the theaters. Should be very clear about that. But I don't know. I mean, some movies find their audience. They do. So, with that being said, and where are we at the box? Oh yeah, 24. That's about right time. That's the weekend box office this week. It was a good weekend overall. Like, it wasn't a huge profitable weekend. Like, the top 5, if we look at it real quick, it's like what, 30, 33.1, 42.4, 47.4, 49.4. Like, it was barely a $50-60 million box office this weekend. But that's honestly just keying us up now for the big weekend, which we have Conclave, which I do want to see. That's allegedly getting a lot of Oscar contention, particularly for like Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci, and Venom: Last Dance. Now, I don't think, even if we think the movie's going to be bad, that Deadpool: The Last Dance won't be number 1. I say that, but I am also the guy who said that Joker 2 would still be number 1 in week 2. So, but look, at 23 million, I don't think any of us are assuming Venom: Last Dance is going to do under 20 million, which is what Smile 2 will do next week. So yes, Deadpool: The Last Dance will be number 1. I do not know, though, what the wide release schedule for Conclave is going to be. Also, it's not really one of those films that's going to be busting down the blockbuster doors. It's not going to be making gobs of money. It might do well, but it's clearly more of the Oscar bait film than the make money type film. So I will still go Smile 2 next week. Wild Robot, still having Wild Robot there, because Terrifier dropped 50%. Even if it drops less, I still think Wild Robot's going to outperform Terrifier next week. Speaking of which, I will put Terrifier at number... Well, actually, you know what? I think I'll put Conclave at number 4. That's where I think I'll put Conclave. And then I'll put the Terrifier. Not the Terrifier, but you know what I mean. Terrifier 3. So again, Venom: Last Dance, Smile 2, Wild Robot, Conclave, and Terrifier 3. What do you think the box office is going to look like tomorrow, and why do you think that? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. See you for the next one.